What if the safest place on earth feels safe precisely because it's taking your money? You can feel calm while your balance drops. You can even feel close to something better. In this video, we'll unpack why the casino still feels safe when losing, and what psychological engines are quietly running the show. You don't only chase wins, you chase emotional control. Before a bet, the mind tries to compress uncertainty into a simple story. That story creates relief, even if the outcome hasn't arrived yet. Losses disrupt the script, so the brain treats the disturbance as temporary noise. Then the next round feels like a continuation, not a threat, which softens alarm signals. Near misses are the most convincing illusion of progress. When the reel stops just short, dopamine spikes as if the reward is arriving. Your brain updates almost into next time, even when the probabilities haven't changed. This is a prediction error system, tuned to movement and signals, not to truth. So the casino feels safer because it keeps feeding your nervous system a sense of momentum. After all, momentum feels like safety. After a loss, many people experience a peculiar urge. The system owes you. That feeling is the gambler's form of the return to normal belief. Behavioral economics calls it a kind of mental budgeting, where pain gets tagged as an error to be corrected. You might tell yourself the break in luck was overdue, not that randomness is indifferent. The result is a subtle emotional contract. If I try again, the world will rebalance. That contract makes you feel guarded against further loss, instead of exposed to it. Revenge isn't always loud, and that's why it's dangerous. Often it appears as determination, focused and almost respectful toward your own intelligence. You don't just want money, you want the emotional meaning of losing to disappear. When shame starts to rise, your mind searches for an action that can erase it. So the next bet becomes a rescue mission, not an economic decision. In that moment, the casino feels like a safe courtroom where your story will be corrected. The strongest comfort comes from anticipation itself. Waiting for an outcome creates a controlled burst of arousal, like turning anxiety into focus. Dopamine doesn't only react to winning, it also charges the moments right before it. This is why the pre-bet ritual can feel better than the result. If you lose, the expectation can still be kept warm for the next round. The casino becomes psychologically safe because the brain confuses anticipation with promise. There's also an illusion of control that wraps danger in friendliness. You might choose a stake, a moment, a seat, or a sequence, and feel you shaped fate. Even tiny actions can produce a feeling of agency through causal illusion. Research on heuristics shows that humans overinterpret patterns when stressed. The more you're losing, the more the mind seeks structure to justify effort. Structure feels safe because it promises predictability. And predictability is the opposite of randomness, which is what you're actually dealing with. Probability gets distorted when emotions tighten your attention. You may remember the last win more vividly than the long-term distribution, and the brain turns memory into math. Random streaks become evidence instead of coincidence, and your perception narrows accordingly. This is the availability bias combined with the gambler's fallacy, dressed in confidence. The result is a quiet misreading. You believe the odds are changing because your story demands it. When odds feel personal, the situation feels manageable. When it feels manageable, it feels safe. Random reinforcement also plays a key role in reducing fear. Variable rewards train the nervous system through intermittent signals, not steady patterns. You don't get relief after every bet, but you get enough spikes of possibility to stay engaged. This pattern resembles behavioral conditioning, where unpredictability increases persistence. Your body learns something might happen, and stays alert without calling it danger. That is why you can feel absorbed rather than threatened. The casino becomes a controlled uncertainty bubble. During a losing series, tension often becomes your fuel, not your warning. Instead of treating stress as a signal to stop, you treat it as proof you're locked in. Your attention narrows and decisions get faster, more automatic, less reality checked. This narrowing is common under high arousal, where the prefrontal brakes loosen. So losing doesn't feel like collapse. It feels like concentration that should pay off. In that state, safety isn't about outcomes. It's about being inside the loop. The next bet becomes a return to a familiar sensation. After the session, shame can appear, but it rarely ends the mechanism. You might feel embarrassed, then immediately search for an internal explanation that protects your identity. That explanation often turns into permission. I was close. I was unlucky. I deserved one more. Cognitive dissonance pushes you to reduce inner conflict, and the easiest way is to rewrite meaning. The mind softens guilt by adjusting the story of effort and inevitability. Then the casino feels safe again, because it's where the corrected story can be tried. The shame isn't the opposite of compulsion. Sometimes it's its fuel. There's a difference between pleasure and compulsive repetition that's easy to miss. Pleasure has flexibility, you can stop and still feel okay. Compulsion is narrower. Stopping feels like cutting off a lifeline. When you're losing, compulsion reframes withdrawal as unfair, not necessary. You start betting to regulate emotion, not to enjoy chance. That's the moment the casino stops being a pastime and becomes a psychological tool. Tool-like behavior feels safe because it promises relief on demand. Even when you're fully losing, you can lose touch with reality in small ways. Time distorts, money becomes abstract, and the next outcome feels like the only meaningful event. This is a known effect of focused attention under reward systems. Perception narrows around the trigger. You might notice the room, the sound, the rhythm, but not the larger consequences. Your brain uses now to avoid later, because later holds consequences. So the safest feeling is the one that ignores what's coming. It's a temporary safety, built on selective blindness. When you lose repeatedly, you're not only gambling on outcomes. You're gambling on your own ability to force meaning back into chaos. That's why near wins, returns, and anticipation keep acting like safety signals. You're not seeking random money. You're seeking an emotional reset from uncertainty. The casino becomes a familiar machine that converts discomfort into action. And action is comforting, even when it's costing you. So what should you take from all this beyond recognition? The most dangerous mechanisms work without drama, using calm sensations and almost evidence. The feeling of safety is often an internal story, not a reflection of risk. When your mind starts treating randomness like a personal contract, pause becomes the real danger you should fear missing. Subscribe if you want more psychology of gambling behavior, and if you want the hidden mechanisms to become visible before they run your decisions again.